Canada, welcome back to another episode of Question Period. Today is October 24th, 2024, and boy, oh boy, do we ever have a great day lined up for you. I have now fulfilled my promise. I said on many streams ago here on this channel that I would start a petition if Greg Fergus muted that freaking microphone one more time. And you may have seen the news, maybe you didn't. It's breaking news, it's everywhere. My petition is live. It's official. It's been sponsored by my local MP, Todd Doherty from Prince George. It has been published on the R Commons website, and it is breaking all of the barriers. It is the most signed petition in less than 24 hours. I am doing it myself, even though it's been sponsored by an MP. I do not know if it's been, it certainly hasn't been promoted by any conservative MP. Look, this is groundbreaking. We have an opportunity to change Canadian politics as we know right now. It sounds insane. I know a lot of people have a lot of skepticism around petitions, right? Oh, they don't do anything. I've done a petition. Look, that very well may be true. But this is such a small little change that makes sense. It's not a left-wing politician. It's not a right-wing politician. It's a democracy politician, because the current House Speaker, Greg Fergus, is abusing his power by muting that microphone, which prevents us from being able to hear what happens. Now, Pierre could very well say something incriminating, self-incriminating, and we wouldn't know about it because it's been muted, nor has he ever said anything. But Justin Trudeau could also say something that's homophobic, that's racist, that's sexist, and we wouldn't know about it. We vote these people in, and it's our responsibility to make the most educated decision when it comes time to vote. And what they are doing is they're preventing us from access to information that has been guaranteed by living here in Canada, our democracy. So I've signed a petition. The link is in the pinned comment of this live stream. It's called Stop Muting the Mic, MIC.ca. That is where you can go and you can find this petition. I have pulled it up on my screen. When you go to stopmutingthemic.ca, this is what you will be faced with. This is my MSB screen share. Here's my HOC screen share. Top left to bottom right. So House Speaker Greg Fergus has gone on a power trip, and Canadians are fed up. He mutes the microphone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I like to consider myself a pretty funny guy. I'm a funny guy. You may think I'm funny looking, but I like to think that I'm a funny guy. And on this website, there's a bit of an Easter egg. No one has found it yet, but I'm going to show you right now. When you go all the way down here to 404 page error and you click it, oopsie daisy, not quite sure what happened. It seems like you're as lost as our Prime Minister, but don't worry. Unlike him, I have a plan. So you go to stopmutingthemic.ca and then you click Sign the petition. Sign the petition. I want everybody to do it right now. I want everybody to take the time who hasn't yet already to go to stopmutingthemic.ca and sign that petition. Look at this. Todd Doherty, you are awesome for sponsoring this. 2,400 signatures already. Look at that. Alberta, BC, Yukon, PEI, who to be to buy the guy. Look at this. 100 people in Manitoba. Are you kidding me? That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. So I want everybody who hasn't yet already to go to stopmutingthemic.ca. Share this with your friends. Share this with your family. Share this with everybody you know, because this isn't a conservative petition. This isn't a liberal petition. This is to protect democracy. And in fact, you ready for this? You ready for this? This is why this is going to get pushed forward. It's discrimination. What Greg Fergus is doing is discriminatory to the visually impaired. Now, I've seen it in my comments. I've seen it in my live chat where people say that they are visually impaired. And when they get the mic muted on them without any warning, without any sirens or any announcement, it's like putting a blindfold or a bag over somebody's head unannounced. It's not okay. It's discrimination. And I never would have expected this progressive liberal government to discriminate against the super enormous and large visually impaired community that we have here in Canada. It's enormous. I'm told it's one of the largest visually impaired groups out of any country. I don't know what's in our water. I don't know what's in our food. I don't know what's causing it, but it's there. And all this has happened because I was talking with a dear friend of mine about getting a petition going. And he was talking with his mother, and his mother said, "You tell that Jasper to say to everybody in the petition that Greg Fergus is discriminating against visually impaired people." There you go, my friend's mom. That one's for you. I've done it. I lived up to my promise. And so we have to band together with all our visually impaired people. Look, if we got together in a line, it might be a staggered line. But nonetheless, let's all get together and sign this petition and stop the discrimination. It's not okay. I do not accept Greg Fergus and this Liberal government from discriminating against anybody here in Canada. Stopmutingthemic.ca. There you go. And it's even in the petition. Section 15 of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms ensures protection against any type of discrimination, particularly based on race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age, mental or physical disability. Not okay. And whenever you put forward a petition, you have to have the problem and then you have to have the solution. And ladies and gentlemen, I've got the solution. We live in a democracy. We vote. We vote MPs in, we vote MPs out. No one person should be holding the torch of the muting mic capabilities in this democracy. Unless, of course, it's a matter of national security, right? Something happens, matter of national security, of course, mute the microphone, right? Of course, that makes sense. But the discrimination has to end. And not one single individual with a track record of tremendous amount of ethics violations, now more than ever discriminating against the visually impaired, large community of visually impaired Canadian citizens. Not okay. Not okay, Greg Fergus. Not acceptable. So we got to come together. We got to sign this petition. We got to share it out to everybody. The solution is that they vote. It has to be a unanimous decision to vote for muting the microphone by party leaders or party representatives on the House floor. It's right there in the petition. Feel free to go read it. Go to stopmutingthemic.ca, where you can read through the website right here. You got to click the button, sign the petition here, and it'll redirect you to the R Commons website. Look, I didn't have to go out of my way to make that website. That's for fun. I could have directed people right to the R Commons website, right? Petition E5170. But where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in that? You got to make it flashy. You got to make it attractive. And you got to educate people that this is discrimination. And you can read all about the petition right here on the website, including this clip right here from House of Canada. This is House Canadaception. You see me right there at the bottom? I'm right here at the bottom as well.
Fighting for his pension and start fighting for the people. But once the votes were counted, betrayed them again. He is a fake, a phony, and a fraud. How can anyone ever believe what this sellout NDP leader says in the future?
Wow! And he's gonna mute the mic! Come on, man! Come on, man! Come on! We pay our... Come on! We deserve to hear what the hell's going on out loud. man. Are you kidding me? Put some L's down. Put some L's down for Greg Fergus. This is absolutely an abuse of power. I gotta calm down, dude. Holy shit, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for yelling. I'm wearing headphones. How loud am I? Hello? Yeah, I'm pretty loud. Sorry. Okay. Bring it. Testing. Okay. So,
rules of this House. I'll ask the honourable member to please to ask her to withdraw her remarks.
The chair is acting in a disgraceful manner.
I'm going to ask you.
ooh! Oh my God, he did not just mute the mic. Man, I want to write a strong worded letter to Parliament. Hey, past tense Jasper to current tense Jasper. Good freaking job. We did it, folks. We did it. I couldn't have done it on my own, right? I'm just one dude in the basement. I'm just one dude in the basement. I might not even be wearing pants. How do we know? I'm sitting down. You only see from my waist up. I'm one dude in my basement who may or may not even be wearing pants. We'll never know. We will never know. It changes day to day, folks. Changes day to day. Let that sink in as the day goes on. You might be listening to a guy who's not even wearing pants. Spoiler alert. I'm wearing pants. I'm wearing pants today. Don't worry. Don't worry. You can get that image out of your head. Nonetheless, we did it. And a strong worded letter was indeed written. And you can find that at stopmutingthemic.ca. Now, for everybody's convenience, at the top of the website, oh, for crying out loud, I've cut it off. At the top of the website, right there, haha, it says sign now or tell your MP. And when you click on tell your MP, it brings you to this part of the website. Beautiful, beautiful website. It's got all the steps on exactly what to do to tell your local MP. Look at this. I've even written a template. Can you imagine? It doesn't get easier than that. Come on, folks. I can bring you to the washroom, but I ain't going to wipe your butt for you. There we go. Reach out to your member of Parliament today. Step 1, know who your local MP is. Big map. It's all there. Step 2, customize the letter below. You can, if you would like, to copy and paste and customize the following letter to your liking. Feel free to add what you wish and personalize it. Greetings, MP name. My name is your name. And I am writing to encourage you to support petition E5170. I support this petition because insert your reasons. I want greater transparency during question period. I want to know if House of Canada is wearing pants while he's live streaming. It's really on my mind now. I want to ensure Canadians with disabilities are not discriminated against by the Speaker of the House of Commons. Stop the discrimination to the large visually impaired community here in Canada. It's not okay. I want to be able to know what is going on during question period. Yeah, that's a good one. I have a right to follow question period proceedings and be an informed citizen. You damn right, template. You absolutely do. I am respectfully requesting that the discretionary authority... Look how smart that sounds. Look how smart that sounds. I am respectfully requesting that the discretionary authority of the Speaker to disable the House microphone be removed. Alternatively, this power could be exercised only with unanimous consent of all party leaders present in the House of Commons. Such changes would better reflect the principles of transparency and openness that are essential to Canadian democracy, while also ensuring that all Canadians have equal access to their government. I hope you support this endeavor. Respectfully and sincerely, your name. Boom. And people are saying, hey, don't forget, once you sign the petition, you get an email sent to your email account. and just make sure that you confirm. It could go to your junk box. It could go to your inbox. It could go to whatever box. But just make sure that once you sign the petition that is found at stopmutingthemic.ca, that once you sign that petition, you go back to your email that you inserted and you confirm. It's wild. It's a bit of a process. I'll admit it. It's a bit of a process. It takes a couple of steps to do. But hey, this took weeks to do. Weeks. If me, who sits here without wearing pants, who has over 500,000 subscribers across all channels, can find a way to put this together, I think we can all just take a couple of minutes at most to sign this petition. Stopmutingthemic.ca. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've lived up to my promise. I have done my end of the deal by going and doing the petition. I said I would do it, and there it is. Thank you to my friend's mom for the reminder, or not even the reminder, for bringing to my attention that the visually impaired community in Canada is being heavily discriminated against. And there's a lot of them. There is a lot of visually impaired people. You might not find them. They might be lost because they're visually impaired, but there's a lot of them, and that's not okay. One person to discriminate against here in Canada by the Liberal government is not okay. And there's way more than one. So let's stop the discrimination and sign that letter. All right, folks. It's as good as it's going to get. Let's see what the hell's going on in question period, huh? Let's see what's going on in question period. Here we go. Let's get some W's in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. You kidding me? I've been live for 17 minutes. I haven't had a sip of coffee. Let's get the energy going. Come on. Let's get the W's. Let's get the signatures. Stop muting the mic.ca. Spread it to Facebook. Spread it to X. Spread it to Reddit. And you know what? Share it with your favorite content creator, or however many content creators that you watch. Go and tag your content creators, put it in their YouTube chat, put it in their X chat, do what you got to do. Let's get more Canadian content creators on board with signing this petition. This is not a Mr. Sunshine Baby petition. This is not a House of Canada petition. This is a stop muting the freaking mic and discriminating against visually impaired and Canadians petition. That's a long word. That's a long word for petition, but nonetheless, here we go. I see the W's flying. All right, folks, I think we're ready. I think we're ready here. W means we're winning. We're winners. We're winners.
Has asked for the documentation, and therefore the documentation must be produced. The government's accountability to its people is not optional. This is a fundamental responsibility.
Shout out to the person who signed the petition without pants on.
Can Trust Index poll revealed that less than 25% of Canadians trust this Liberal Prime Minister.
I've got pants on.
And government. Is that a surprise to anyone? That number might be high since this poll was conducted back in February, but it makes sense. When the government refuses to release key documents, especially in response to serious allegations, it erodes public trust. It undermines the very fabric of our democracy. Without transparency, how can citizens know that their government is acting in good faith? Let's look at this from another angle. And I promise you again, I'm not making it up. I'm going to give you a bit of a timeline of how we got here. Madam Speaker, in 2018, the then Liberal Industry Minister decides he doesn't like the chair of the SDTC. That was Mr. Jim Balsillie, because he was criticizing the government. So he has the CEO of the SDTC ask the chair to stop his criticism. He doesn't. So in 2019, the Liberal Industry Minister decides to appoint a new chair, but this one already has conflicts of interest. But he did this even though the Prime Minister's office and the Privy Council office were warned of risks with appointing a conflicted chair. They were warned of risks associated with appointing a conflicted chair. That new chair had or has ownership positions in companies receiving Green Slush Fund, SDTC funding. So the funding floodgates open. Conflicts of interest are managed rather than outlawed. SDTC members begin to award funds to companies where other board members hold ownership. The following example is the one that I love the most. If you do something so audacious, maybe no one will suspect a thing. I think they call that hiding in plain sight. Cycle Capital. The founder and beneficial owner of Cycle Capital, Andre Lise Mitho, voted Cycle Capital Investments a significant amount of Green Slush Fund funding while she sat on the board of the Liberal Green Slush Fund. In fact, before and during her time on the Green Slush Fund board, her companies received $250 million. But wait, Cycle Capital's lobbyist, before he came to the House, was none other than a radical minister of the environment. Yep, so what? So what, you might ask? Well, in the year before he joined the Liberal government, he lobbied 25 times. And the Green Slush Fund board gave over $100 million to the Cycle Capital companies. But then, when part of the government, he participated in talks that gave the SDTC, the Sustainable Development Technology, another $750 million. $750 million. They gave $750 million to deploy, of which 25% of that went to guess who? Cycle Capital. And we don't know, but he may or may not still own shares in Cycle Cap. It's a really good trade where I come from. I spoke earlier about my career as an environmental engineer, but I spent actually most of my career in finance. That's another reason why the misappropriation of funds in this Green Slush Fund scandal speaks to me. When I was in the financial and investment industry, fund managers were generally paid dependent upon how their funds performed. The better your fund did, the more you're going to get paid. The better your fund did, the more assets you're going to attract, and again, the more you would expect to be paid, all else being equal. What I find peculiar about this fund and the way it paid its principals is that they were paid based on the dollar volume of grants that they made. I swear I'm not making that up. The more money that was allocated, the more they spent, whether it went to a good project, a bad project, a medium project, or some other, the more money that was paid to those individuals. So rather than scouring the universe, the country, for the best projects, the easiest thing to do, the path of least resistance, would have been to allocate funds to projects that were already known to the board, regardless of the expected return to the taxpayer. We call that a fiduciary duty. Madam Speaker, for a government that loves to virtue signal about their care and vision for the environment, their behavior when it comes to deploying funds is contradictory, as I just detailed. They would say one thing and do another. And this matters, and here's why. Instead of investing taxpayer dollars in the most promising projects and companies, the Liberals appointed a chair, and her board funneled taxpayer dollars to projects and companies that were run by their friends or in companies where they had a financial interest. Can you imagine that? This is the kind of situation they teach you to avoid in a business education. This is why we have ethics classes in business and in financial education. Perhaps the financial leaders on the other side of the House missed those classes. Still, the misallocation of money and capital leads to the destruction of capital in this country. This leads to a loss of Canadian competitiveness, a reduction in productivity, and a decline in GDP. We're seeing all these economic measures play out now in our economy, and we're worse off as a country for it. The Green Slush Fund is not responsible for all of that, Madam Speaker, but the Green Slush Fund and its grant allocation principles are emblematic of the attitudes and principles of the Liberal government for the last 9 years. Good money put towards programs with admirable goals, yes, but lacking in the financial know-how and financial management expertise to succeed. That's taxpayer money wasted. The reduction of our productivity and competitiveness and GDP is not an accident. This is the result of an overall mismanagement of the economy by the Liberal Prime Minister and the Liberal Cabinet. At the heart of this issue, public trust. Canadians trust their government to act in their best interest and to steward public funds responsibly and to be forthright about how decisions are made. When this trust is broken, it's incredibly difficult to rebuild, except perhaps with a new government. The refusal to release the Green Slush Fund documents erodes this trust. It sends a message to the public that the government is not interested in being transparent and that accountability is a secondary concern. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. The honourable member for South Shore St. Margaret's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I enjoyed that insightful speech by the member for St. Paul's. And I know, given his extensive business career and his knowledge and study of this subject, he would be aware that the chair of the fund, the Green Slush Fund, Annette Bicharin, said when asked about all the money that went to their own companies, that this is what entrepreneurs do. Now, do you believe these 9 directors named as conflicts of interest by the Auditor General 186 times represent 82% of the green technology space? Was that coincidence? Do they represent it? Or did they get an oversized chunk of that money because of their insider status?
The honourable member for Toronto St. Paul's.
Thank you for the question from my honourable colleague. The 186 companies would not represent 82% of the green technology space in Canada. We've got a very large green technology space in this country from coast to coast, and it would be much more than 186. So no, they did receive an outsized funding amount, 82% of that fund, to those 186 companies.
Questions and comments. The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And just a couple of questions. The member opposite, many members opposite, have continually referred to the chair and board of STTC as Liberal insiders. I'm just wondering if the member opposite knows anything about Annette Bicharin, the chair, the past chair, and the fact that she had actually been advisor to Harper, to Flaherty, and to others in the Conservative Party, as well as being a major donor to the Conservative Party. And if that's not a friend to the Conservatives, then I'm wondering who he considers to be a friend to the Conservatives. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable member for Toronto St. Paul's.
Thank you for the question. The fact of the matter here is that the malfeasance in this fund started well after the Conservative Party left power. So whether or not the chair was friendly or not friendly at that time to the Harper government, Mr. Speaker, it's immaterial. What matters here is that there was money misappropriated, money misallocated, not to the strongest projects that were out there, and now we're trying to get to the bottom of it, but we're being stymied. Parliament is being stymied. We are not being stymied. We're being stymied as a group, as an institution, from getting to the bottom by the prevention of the release of this documentation.
The honourable member from Hamilton Centre has a brief question for a brief answer.
Same question I've asked every Conservative in the House. Who stymies? Who's the stymier? Who are the stymiers in chief in this entire circus show that is this filibuster on a motion that they put forward and yet refuse to put forward? Thank you very much.
The honourable member from Toronto St. Paul.
Thank you for the question. It's an important question because here we are in Parliament asking for documentation, which is our privilege. It's not being produced. This could be over, as I've said before, in 35 seconds by producing the documentation. So, Mr. Speaker, that's all we need to happen here is for the will of Parliament to be honoured.
I hate to
sign the petition.
Comments for the honourable member. The honourable member have 6 minutes and 12 seconds left for questions and comments when we resume debate on this motion after.
So I need to mute it for a second, folks. I just got confirmation in the past 2 minutes that 100%, without a doubt, fully confirmed, House Speaker Greg Fergus has actually seen this petition. This is how legit it is, folks. That's why it took a little bit of time for it to go through our commons. That's why it took a little bit of time for it to get sponsored by a federal MP, conservative federal MP. But 100% Greg Fergus has seen this petition because it involves him. That's how big of an impact this has already had. So keep that in mind. We're unlikely to see him mute the mic. But if he does, if you wear headphones, just make sure you take them off because I will be yelling 100%.
Initiative.
The tireless efforts of the health workers and the 20 million volunteers who have journeyed to the most remote corners of the world in 200
We're changing politics.
Not just vaccines, but hope. Let the end of polio be not just a goal, but a legacy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Edmonton, Wetaskiwin.
Mr. Speaker, today is World Polio Day, a day to highlight global efforts to end
polio. People are putting W's in the chat for me. Folks, I'm honored.
Our aim is not
but put W's in the chats for us. It's not a me thing. It's an us thing. We've done it. We did it. If you signed it, you are part of this.
Rid of it. Today, we're so close to that goal, with Canada consistently playing a leading role. 3 Canadian Prime Ministers, including former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper, have been
Thank you, Joe Uber, for the 20
Polio Eradication Champion Award. And Canadian Jennifer Jones, who recently
Hong Kong, chugga. I appreciate that.
President, relentlessly continued Canada's leadership in this fight, working with dedicated partners like UNICEF, the Gates
Bunny with the 5 saying with pants on. Thank you.
This House members from all
Arizwar, welcome to the membership. Jim Smith with the 279. Everyone, please sign the petition. Thank you.
The world is better for it.
Patricia with the membership. Thank you. Tress with the membership. Thank you. And Bunny with the membership. Thank you, folks. I appreciate that.
Speaker. In 2018, the Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada asked the House of Commons to declare October 24th, 2018 as the first Brain Cancer Awareness Day in Canada. That year also saw the launch of the first Toques for Hope campaign. Canadians were invited to show their support by sharing their toque photo on social media. Thanks to this campaign, the date became a symbol of solidarity in the face of this devastating disease. I'll be wearing mine when I leave this room today in memory of my mother and in support of the 27 people in Canada every day who are diagnosed with a brain tumor. And do you have your toque or sweater of hope? Thank you to the Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada for its tireless work that makes a real difference. And thank you to everyone who will be wearing their toques today. The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes Verchères.
You have to be Canadian to sign the petition.
The 40th.
And make sure you confirm it
Salon des Métiers d'Art de Boucherville,
in your email.
Which is taking place November 1st to 3rd, 2024. Except
Sharon with the 5 saying Trudeau has stopped the RCMP from investigation.
Happened every year since the first
investigating
time,
corruption.
And it's a success every time.
If this petition with the microphone is successful, folks,
and find unique and original
it sets the
the
roadmap that we can do things.
This success is due in large part.
It starts with one petition. So let's try and make sure that this first one is successful, and then we can go from there.
Who has been at the head for 30 years, and I congratulate René Lavoie for
Connie with the membership. Thank you, Connie.
I also want to thank the contribution of the members of the committee who support that work: Céline Lozeau, Suzanne Heinzen, Isabelle Ross, and Nathalie Métivier. Thank you for promoting the talent of artists from Quebec. Thank you for giving them this chance to shine.
The honourable member from Labrador.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to congratulate
the petition is the pinned comment of the live stream
for his incredible achievement on season 11.
And I just put it in the live chat as well.
Aired on the History Channel. William hails from the tiny outport community of Williams Harbour, and his determination, resilience, and unmatched survival skills were on full display as he spent 84 grueling days north of the Arctic Circle near Nunavut in the Northwest Territories, enduring the harsh environment of the Arctic on the series alone. He was one of 10 contestants, and he was the last one standing. His triumph earned him a grand prize of $500,000 US and a testament to his strength, knowledge of the land. And
we're currently the sixth most signed active petition.
But it showcased
we're just about to be. We're the seventh most signed active petition.
Remarkable skills passed down to
we're only like a couple hundred away
in the region. I congratulate William, and I ask all Labradorians, all parliamentarians to join me in offering him our very best wishes.
Here, here, here. The honourable member from King Vaughan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through my many years of volunteering with Creating Alternatives and the Down Syndrome Foundation, I have witnessed firsthand the profound impact of inclusion and the importance of celebrating each individual's unique abilities. These experiences have deeply touched my heart and inspired me to put forward Motion 123, which calls on the government to recognize March 21st as the National Down Syndrome Day. So, by doing so, we will align with the United Nations, but also honor and celebrate the incredible contributions that individuals with Down syndrome make to our communities.
Folks, we made a website specifically for the petition.
Around them.
This ain't no joke.
I'm confident that my colleagues on both sides of the House will join me in supporting this motion. Together, we can affirm our commitment to recognizing and celebrating the abilities and contributions
Connie and Ryan,
Canadians,
welcome to the membership program. I appreciate that.
They may face.
G. Lou with the 10, thank you.
The honourable member for Ottawa Vanier. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mofo with the 2 saying I've signed. Let's stop that bad word guy.
Priority for our
Thank you
government.
for that. And Kyle and Paul, thank you for joining the membership program.
To help us achieve that goal. Thanks to the 25 to 27 immigration levels plan, the percentage
to all the new members on the stream, make sure you go sign that petition. It's in the comments.
Canada outside
it's in the description.
Will be
it's the pinned comment of the live stream.
9.5%.
It's going to be repetitive. For those that have signed it, it's going to be repetitive. Just bear with me.
Targets demonstrate our commitment to ensuring growth of French-speaking communities and official language minority communities and are in line with our Francophone immigration policy. I'm proud to be part of a government that promotes the ongoing vitality and prosperity of our communities. This is great news, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Markham Unionville.
Today, the Minister of Immigration tabled the 2025-2027 Immigration Levels Plan, a plan that will pause population growth in the short term to achieve well-managed, sustainable growth in the long term. Our government has been taking concrete action, including the recent reforms to the International Students Program to ensure system integrity, and the results are showing. Many university and college cities are experiencing rental downturns, at least partially due to the cap on international students. In Vancouver and Toronto, rent went down 11% and 8.1% respectively. We are committed to achieving long-term goal and ensuring a well-managed, sustainable immigration system where everyone has a fair chance to succeed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Charleswood St. James, Assiniboia Headingley.
After 9 years, this NDP Liberal government has allowed anti-Jewish hate crimes to increase by 400%. Wow. Members of the Jewish community make up just 1% of Canada's population, but are the targets of 70% of all religiously motivated hate crimes in Canada. Synagogues have been firebombed. Jewish schools have been shot at. Jewish-owned businesses have been vandalized. And Jewish-founded hospitals have been barricaded. Calls for death to Jews are coming from radical, Hamas-loving, Jew-hating, terrorist sympathizers on the streets in front of Jewish seniors' homes. Jewish Canadians didn't ask to be targeted with acts of hate and violence, and this escalation of hate and fear is just not the Canadian way. Enough is enough. When will this Prime Minister finally stand up for Jewish Canadians, take this disgusting rise in anti-Semitism seriously so that every Jew, no matter where they live, no matter where they work, and no matter where they go to school, can live safe and live free from hate.
Yeah.
The honourable member from Mississauga, Aaron Mills.
Mr. Speaker, I am astonished by the blatant disregard of the Leader of the Opposition has shown for the well-being of Canadians. His willful ignorance of critical security threats facing our nation is deeply concerning. Recently, RCMP's investigations have shown alarming evidence of agents from the Government of India engaging in serious criminal activity in Canada, including homicides, extortion, and threats to the South Asian community. Our citizens are under credible and imminent
Joe Uber with the 10.
The
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Greg Fergus has to go.
Empty slogans,
That's
refusing
right.
to do the
Thank you,
substantive
Joe.
work to address these threats. His dog whistle politics are putting putting Canadians at risk every single day. Mr. Speaker, will the Leader of the Opposition put aside his selfish interests, obtain the necessary security clearance, and protect the integrity of not just the democratic process, but of his own party and all Canadians? Thank you.
The honourable member from Cumberland Coastal.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that.
Speaker, not surprisingly, the NDP Liberals' so-called safe supply fiasco has torn a hole in yet another Canadian community. Hydromorphone seized by the Sarnia Police has gone up by 170% in the first 8 months of this year, and a local addictions doctor has said diversion is to blame. The government talks about evidence, but when the evidence tells them something they don't want to hear, they just ignore it. Every city touched by so-called safe supply has suffered. In Vancouver, 50% of all hydromorphone seizures were diverted from so-called safe supply. In London, the street price of hydromorphone dropped by 90%. In Port Coquitlam, children are accessing government-supplied opioids. This is homicidal humanitarianism. The evidence is right there, and the NDP Liberals do not care. Common sense Conservatives want Canadians suffering from addiction to survive and thrive, not suffer and die. We will restore their dignity and bring them home drug-free.
The honourable member from Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
After 9 years of the NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and their time is up. This NDP Liberal government is refusing to turn over documents to the RCMP showing that Liberal-appointed managers used the Green Slush Fund to pay nearly $400 million to companies that they themselves owned. The Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the corruption. In northern BC, residents are losing their logging, oil, gas, mining, and other natural resource jobs because this radical NDP Liberal Environment Minister. Meanwhile, the same radical NDP Liberal Environment Minister and Prime Minister take $400 million they take from you in carbon tax and pay off their NDP Liberal friends.
Check your junk folders for your emails after you've signed the petition.
And give proof to police so Parliament can get back to work for Canadians.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member from Vancouver Granville.
Mr. Speaker, national security should be the responsibility and the priority of every single member of this House. We've seen over the last number of months and years the alarming rate with which foreign governments have sought to interfere with the democratic processes in this country and to damage our democracy. Every single one of us in this House bears a responsibility and obligation to ensure that we are well prepared and well informed in the face of these threats. Canadians know that our leaders having a security clearance is table stakes, but apparently not the Leader of the Opposition.
He's hiding something.
I know firsthand that top secret clearance process is detailed and precise, but it is something that gives our national security agencies absolute confidence in our integrity and our ability to be trusted with sensible and sensitive information. I simply cannot understand why the Leader of the Opposition refuses to get a security clearance. As the Prime Minister said yesterday, if he cares about this country and he cares about Canadians, he'll get the clearance, take the briefing, and protect the country. Why won't he?
The honourable member from Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, at this very moment, there are thousands of workers rallying for respect and for their collective bargaining rights at the legislature in Alberta. Members of CUPE Local 3550 were stripped of their rights to strike by the Alberta government after they voted 97% in favor of job action. Education assistants, administrative staff, librarians, and student support staff are the backbone of our education system. They make our schools run, they support our teachers, and most importantly, they help our children. But they are not being treated with the respect they deserve. These workers, mostly women, 94% of Local 3550's members are women, work difficult, stressful jobs while making poverty wages. Now their most basic rights are being denied. Workers are tired of subsidizing funding cuts with poverty wages. Today and every day, I stand with the dedicated workers of CUPE 3550 and all the workers across Canada and Alberta.
Here, 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 here.
We're about to begin, folks.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski, Nejet, Témiscouata, Les Basques.
Connie with the 2 no message attached.
To mark the 50th anniversary of the founding of the École de Technologie Supérieure, which was founded in Montreal in 1974. Over the years, it has become a major success, graduating 25% of all of Quebec's engineers, ranking first in Quebec for the number of undergraduate engineering graduates. It's a member of the University of Quebec network, and today ETS has more than 11,000 students, 290 professors, and 77 research chairs, groups, and units. In short, it's a world-renowned incubator of grey matter. It ensures Quebec's prosperity by training our future engineers.
All right, if you haven't yet already, I don't even think I've asked this yet, chat. If you guys haven't yet already, smash that like button
years to come,
and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. And then also sign the petition if you haven't yet.
What's coming next? Long live the École de Technologie Supérieure and happy 50th anniversary.
The Honourable Member from Stormont, Dundas, South Glengarry.
After 9 years of the NDP Liberals, even Liberal MPs now acknowledge that the Prime Minister is not worth the cost, the crime, the corruption, and now the chaos. Instead of trying to fix their mess of doubling housing costs or the record number of food bank visits, Liberal MPs are in full panic mode trying to save their own jobs. After 24 Liberal MPs told the Prime Minister yesterday that he's become so toxic that he needs to resign, the Immigration Minister called his own colleagues garbage. It got so bad during the caucus meeting, Liberals were fleeing the meeting to the bathroom to text journalists about how angry.
Man, that's crazy.
The Prime Minister is completely out of touch and is still forging ahead with his plan to quadruple the carbon tax. But it is now clear, Mr. Speaker, everything in this country is broken because the Liberal Party is broken. But the solution is simple. If they can't get their act together, just call a carbon tax election, because Conservatives on this side are fired up and ready to go.
Let's have a public safety election.
The Honourable Member from Pickering, Uxbridge.
Did he mute it?
Canadians want to know why the Leader of the Opposition won't get his security clearance. Why doesn't he want to learn about ways that the governments like India work to disrupt our institutions?
She doesn't know how to talk without her script.
Excuses that he will be muzzled because every other leader in this House has received their clearance and has not been prevented from speaking on the matters that at hand, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition has a choice. He can get the clearance, he can take the briefings, and he can protect the country. Or will he turn a blind eye to the actions of governments like India and who try to undermine our democracy? Will he stand up for Canadians, or will he stand with governments of it like India? Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition has a choice. Party over country, Canadians want to know.
Absolutely.
Oral questions.
Oral questions. Questions. Honourable Andrew Scheer.
After 9 years of this Liberal NDP Prime Minister, it's clear he's not worth the cost, the crime, the corruption, or chaos. The Liberal caucus is revolting. because even in one safe Liberal seats, voters are angry. They're angry that the Prime Minister raised their prices and devalued their paychecks with his inflation. They're angry that their grocery and home heating costs keep going up because of his carbon tax, and they're angry that their cars keep getting stolen, their parks are full of dirty needles, and homeless encampments now line their streets. So will the Prime Minister put an end to the anger, spread some much-needed joy, and call a carbon tax election so Canadians can decide?
Yep.
The Honourable Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
We know that Canadians have had a tough couple of years as a result of the rising cost of living and global inflation, but Canadian households are right to ask who is actually fighting for them. I can tell you it's not Conservative Caucus members who don't want to forgive interest on student loans. It's not the Conservative leader who wants to take away the Canada Child Benefit, and if you don't believe me, look at his voting record. It's not the Conservative Caucus members who want to make sure that Canadian women don't have access to free birth control. Mr. Speaker, in the next election, people are going to ask themselves, do they want a Liberal government who cares about them or a Conservative leader who cares about himself?
The Honourable Member from Regina Capel.
Has it been a tough couple of years, Mr. Speaker? It's been a tough 9 years of this NDP Liberal Prime Minister. And now taxes are up, costs are up, crime's up, and time's up. It's not just Conservatives saying that, it's Liberal MPs too. You see, they can't do it anymore. They can't convince voters that taxes are going down when in fact they're going up. They can't convince their voters that home prices are becoming more affordable when they keep getting more expensive. And they can't convince their voters that crime is down when it just keeps getting worse. So now they're trying to convince the Prime Minister to resign. But since he won't, will he do the next best thing and call a carbon tax election so Canadians can decide?
There you go. We don't want Trudeau to resign. We want him to be voted out.
Minister.
I want that closure for Canada.
Speaker, I'd like to share some facts, if I might. I stand here as the Minister of Women and Gender Equality and Youth, and I wonder if this ministry will even exist if Conservatives were to gain power. Here are the facts. Conservatives will cut services to survivors of gender-based violence. They'll cut critical supports for women entrepreneurs. They'll cut life-saving support for grassroots organizations. They will cut pharmacare and contraceptives for women. We on this side of the House stand for women and gender-diverse people. They do not. Straight facts, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Regina Capel.
That is baseless and false. We're going to cut the carbon tax, eliminate,
there you go.
fund the CBC, and put that savings back in taxpayers' pockets. But consider where we are. It's actually kind of amazing. Liberal MPs are so frustrated that they're not allowed to speak in caucus, they're actually confiding in Conservatives. They have to sneak out to the bathroom to have therapy text sessions with journalists, and cabinet ministers call their own colleagues garbage because they're speaking out against the Prime Minister's terrible record. He's losing control, he's losing confidence, he lost the plot a long time ago, so for the love of all that's holy, will he finally call a carbon tax election?
The Honourable Minister for...
Leader of the opposition, the leader of the Conservatives would do if he was the Prime Minister, he would cut things like the Canada Summer Jobs Program, Mr. Speaker, something that exists in every one of our communities that is so important to employers and so important to kids. Mr. Speaker, do you think
She should be signing the petition. There's Indigenous people that watch
funding to First Nations
Question Period
a real and fair, equitable
and don't want the mic to be muted.
Perhaps we'll take just a quick second so that people can reflect on the...
Yeah, don't mute the mic, buddy!
Take the floor if you have not been...
Don't even think about it!
That you should not be speaking unless you're recognized by the Speaker.
The Honourable Member.
It's because he's seen the petition.
Mr. Speaker, why the Prime Minister was all smiles yesterday when he left his chaotic caucus where 24 MPs called for his departure. It's simple, because the Prime Minister knows he can count on the support of the 32 Bloc Québécois MPs down there to keep him in office. The Bloc supported this Prime Minister despite the fact that he doubled the cost of housing, he inflated the cost of food, he caused a rise in violent crime and created the worst immigration crisis in Canadian history. Will the Prime Minister take a look behind him, hear the message from his backbenchers and Quebecers, and call an election now? The Honourable Minister for Fisheries and Oceans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listen. The sheer hypocrisy of the Conservative Party is eminently clear.
She should be signing my petition.
It's not, remember,
because there's fishermen out at sea that listen to question period
that the leader of the
that lose their minds
at the time,
and it's a risk to their job when the mic is muted.
For diabetics. Since then, they've voted against free pharmacare for people living with diabetes. We see the Conservatives are all about doublespeak. That's all they're about. The honourable member from Mégantic-L'Érable. Well, the minister should perhaps go round her caucus and notice that 24 of her MPs have come out to demand the Prime Minister's departure just this week. A Prime Minister that's doubled national debt, mortgage prices that has allowed criminality to explode. The Prime Minister's incompetence, Mr. Speaker, has led to an alarm bell being ran in amongst his own partisans who are calling for a change of leadership. He even sent one of his ministers to say that opponents within his party, his own MPs, are garbage. The Prime Minister is simply not worth the cost, nor the insults. When is he going to drop the writ? The Honourable Minister for Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let us talk about housing and incompetence. 1, 2, 3.
Wow!
6.
Who counts to 3 like that?
Affordable housing units. That's all the leader, the Conservative leader, was able to do when he was housing minister.
Who does that?
Country. He can't even find where these 6 are. He's trying to figure out where he can go to find them.
What kind of freakazoid counts to 3 like that?
Build something that he could appropriate? No. Only 6 housing units. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, Mr. Speaker. The honourable member from La Prairie. For years, the Bloc Québécois has been alone in Ottawa in pointing out that the federal government's immigration targets are leading us straight into a wall. For years, the government has been lecturing us, saying that there is no such thing as an intake capacity limit, lecturing us that to talk about reception capacity is to directly criticise immigrants, lecturing us that Quebec doesn't lack the capacity to welcome immigrants, it lacks the will. And then finally today, the federal government has decided to do a 180 and lower its immigration thresholds. Why did they wait until the whole of Canada was in crisis before finally listening to Quebecers? The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What we have moved today is a reasonable immigration plan by reducing permanent residency targets and temporary residency targets. This is a reasonable and reasoned plan that comes from contributions from people coast to coast to coast that asked us to reduce our volumes. I think that Canadians should be proud. It's not a radical reduction. It's about the same as the plan we proposed in 2020, but I think that's going to serve Canadians in Quebec as well. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, not only has the federal government finally agreed with us on intake capacity, it has also recognised the Bloc Québécois' call for successful immigration. I quote from their report on immigration. For immigration to succeed, housing, education, healthcare, childcare and other essential services must keep pace with projected population growth. Well, gosh, Mr. Speaker, they've figured it out. Quebecers have been telling them for years, but it wasn't until Canadians told them that they would finally listen. Why didn't they listen to Quebecers before instead of lecturing us throughout the years? The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees. I'd like to thank to the Bloc's contributions to national unity.
Okay.
The Honourable Member from Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, abortion is health care, but under this Liberal government, so many Canadians still don't have access to reproductive health care. And for those who live outside of larger urban centres, it's almost impossible. You know, the anti-choice Conservatives would only make this worse. The Trump-light leader and his extremist cabinet has voted 5 times against to restrict abortions. And while the Prime Minister talks a good game, he hasn't done enough to ensure that Canadians get the care that they deserve. Why hasn't the government taken access to reproductive health care seriously?
The Honourable Minister for Women.
Men have tampons in the bathroom? I don't know what you're talking about.
Thank the member for her advocacy, but the right to an abortion and access to it go hand in hand. And through a $45 million sexual and reproductive health fund, we're addressing that. We're making sure, Mr. Speaker, that Canadians facing obstacles accessing reproductive health care are supported financially, and organizations providing those essential services have capacity funding. While Conservatives MPs try to limit a woman's right to choose, we'll continue to work hard at opening every possible door, Mr. Speaker, to increasing access.
The Honourable Member from London Fanshawe.
Canadians have heard that Liberal rhetoric before, but the point here is that abortion care and access to it isn't good enough. Women and gender-diverse Canadians are scared. They know that their rights are under attack, and they've seen far-right movements and politicians in Canada emboldened. The Conservatives continue to side with anti-choice movements and believe that Canada is a, quote, lawless state of fetal killing. But we know abortion is health care. Will this Liberal government use the Canada Health Act to make sure that all Canadians have full access to abortion?
Canada is a state of fetal killing,
Mr. Speaker, and I completely
but there's actual murders happening in the streets and they don't care?
Absolutely essential that every woman in every part of this country has access not only to abortion but to the reproductive tools that she needs to have control and autonomy over her own.
Why is he mansplaining?
Remarkable progress on that. Signing agreements with every province and every territory, having indicators common on health standards across the country, making sure that for the first time every woman everywhere has access to the contraceptives that she needs. That's what freedom looks like. That's what we're delivering.
Hear, hear.
I take heavy offense from his mansplaining.
Member from Calgary Shepherd.
After 9 years of this NDP Liberal government, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, time is up, and now even excuses are up. The Prime Minister now admits he destroyed Canada's immigration system and the 150-year immigration consensus. He can't fix what he broke. He can't fix immigration. He can't fix housing or anything else right now because he's fighting his own caucus. So instead of blaming everyone else, including immigrants like myself, will he just admit that he shattered the immigration system and caused lasting damage to Canada's housing market, healthcare, and jobs?
The Conservatives are crushing it today.
SIP and refugees.
Thank you, Monsieur le Président. Look, I was flabbergasted to hear the Leader of the Opposition's answer today, the most immature answer on immigration that I've ever heard. He's late to the game. He's so late to the game on this, he hasn't even come up with a slogan yet. So when he comes up with a slogan, perhaps we'll take the chance to respond. But what we propose is a plan for controlled migration. We're proud of it. It serves Canadians well.
The Honourable Member from Calgary Shepherd.
Thank you, Speaker. It's rich coming from that particular minister who called 24 Liberal MPs garbage because they're looking after their own careers and worried they're not going to make it. They're not going to be here after the next election because their own constituents are going to send them to the unemployment line. Now, this minister is reckless, and he even said it himself.
That's a pretty good clapback.
He didn't get it right. He said it during his own press conference. He didn't get it right on immigration. He didn't get it right on housing. He can't get it right on the carbon tax. So, will the Prime Minister just admit that his flip-flop has destroyed the immigration system and accept his own personal failure?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Refugees and
What I said,
Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, is that it's garbage to focus on anything other than the circus clown that he's supporting.
Oh, you can't do that! That's name calling! That's discrimination!
Order. I'm going to invite the Honourable Minister to please withdraw that comment. That was unparliamentary towards another member.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw the comment.
Yeah, you circus clown.
The Honourable Member from Oxford.
9 years of the NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and chaos in our immigration system is also up. The Liberal NDP government has broken our immigration system with their reckless policies. And today's immigration flip-flop is a massive admission of their own failures. The Prime Minister said that he didn't get the balance quite right.
That's an understatement.
That is clearly obvious with the state of our country today. So will the Prime Minister admit that he broke Canada's consensus
Dude,
on
the
immigration?
Conservatives hype each other up when they're talking.
Now.
You can hear them. That's right. That's right. That's right. I love it.
I'll have to put forward a plan instead of slogans. I haven't even heard the slogan on this because he's been so delinquent on coming up with any valid points to be made on the immigration system, the consensus of which is challenged. Let's hear him. Let's hear his plan. Let's even start hearing the slogan because we haven't heard it yet.
The honourable member from Oxford.
That's pretty weak.
Mr. Speaker, they're trying to be firefighters when they're the ones that are causing the fires in the first place.
That's right.
We had a
Yeah.
immigration in this country, and this incompetent Prime Minister broke it.
Right.
They ignored warnings from their own officials. They dropped police clearance certificates from their own background checks for temporary residents. They even told their own officials to skip vetting for temporary foreign workers.
Wow.
So there is no doubt that after 9 years, they have broken the consensus on immigration. Will they call a carbon tax election now so common sense Conservatives could clean up their mess?
Boom.
Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Mr. Speaker, if the member opposite thinks that security certificates from the Modi government are reliable, he needs a little clearance too on top of his leader, who should probably get a better briefing on the national security of this country. Get the clearance, get the briefing, stop being a baby, and be responsible.
Stop being a baby. You can't say that either. There he goes. Shh. Silence.
Order.
It's a French translation. He didn't mute it. He doesn't want to. He's scared. He's seen the petition get over 3,000 signatures, or close to 3,000, in less than 24 hours.
The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, there's chaos in immigration. Like in the Liberal caucus, this government...
I can't believe we're actually changing politics in
With the
Canada.
help of the bloc that voted to keep the government in power, let us remember that this coalition left Roxham Road open 1 year after the United States moved to close it. To govern well is to forecast well. Our government will bring back coherence, planification, and a common sense Prime Minister. We want elections right now, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Minister for Citizenship, Immigration and Refugees. Mr. Speaker, it's been full incoherence from the Leader of the Opposition, in fact.
You might be wondering why
What the member has
they're
to
asking him
on
a lot of
the
questions.
Francophone strategy outside of Quebec, because finally we've reached...
They just announced that they're cutting back on temporary foreign workers by minimum 20%.
Permanent residents outside of Quebec will hit 10%. It'll be the first time in our history. They should be proud of it. They should support us on this matter.
Oh my God, the petition's literally almost at 3,000.
The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Échemins-Lévis. I would like to remind everyone, everything has been broken by this government, and the Bloc Québécois voted almost 200 times to keep the government in power. Today, we've seen a desperate attempt from the Prime Minister to repair what he broke himself. Full confusion in the changes made to immigration, full incoherence, and full improv from the Liberal government. Only a Conservative government could repair the immigration system and will repair the immigration system. Our message is clear. We want elections, and we want them now.
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees. The Honourable Member decided to read off her page instead of answering my question. I want to hear what the Conservative parties are.
Oh, do you have a problem with that?
They haven't even thought an iota about the slogan on this matter. I would like to hear their plan. Our plan is reasonable and will control immigration in a reasonable way for Canada and Quebec for the next 3 years. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. The Liberals have finally started to listen to the message from Quebecers put forward by the Bloc Québécois. Instead of raising their immigration targets to 500,000 a year, they are going to lower them to 365,000 by 2027. If Quebec wanted to follow the federal government's new target, it would still have to take in more than 80,000 immigrants per year. That's higher than Quebec's target, and no political party in Quebec is proposing more than 80,000 a year. So how did the federal government figure out that Quebec's capacity to accept immigrants is greater than the evaluation and reckoning of all the parties in Quebec City? The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and...
If you guys haven't yet already signed the petition, it is linked in the pinned comment of the stream, the description, and I'll post it again in the live stream chat.
Has approved an agreement with us. They have jurisdiction over their numbers. We're waiting to hear from their plan. We've proposed a plan on a Canadian scale. We're waiting to hear what they have to say, and they will be able to do what they do under the current agreement. We give them $6 billion for francisation and immigration, and we will continue.
Thank you, everybody, for signing that.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. On that subject, the proposed new thresholds are a step forward, yes, but they still force Quebec to choose between accepting a greater number of immigrants or losing political weight in Canada. That said, Quebec's main concern is still temporary immigration, especially asylum seekers. There is still no plan whatsoever for spreading asylum seekers in amongst the provinces, and Quebec continues to be responsible for almost half of all asylum seekers in Canada. Mr. Speaker, it is the federal government's responsibility to convince reluctant provinces to do their part. So, what are they waiting for? The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees. It's wrong that Quebec welcomes 50% of asylum seekers. He just has to consult the statistics that we provide. Statistics Canada states that there have been decreases of asylum seekers at Trudeau Airport in Montreal. It's now at 29%. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. While there is still no fair distribution of migrants between provinces, there is a real risk that migration will skyrocket after the US elections in just 12 days' time. Presidential candidate Trump, should he win, is proposing to deport 11 million people. So if he wins, organizations in Quebec have told us that they expect many people to conclude that they should just pack up and head to Canada. Last time Trump threatened deportations, we ended up with Roxham Road. If the minister is as intelligent as he claims to be, I imagine he already has a plan. Time's ticking. The elections are in 12 days.
Holy smokes.
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship...
We don't want him either.
I didn't hear a question in that. It was just a statement.
Are you okay?
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
The former immigration minister and the MP from Central Nova oversaw population growth in this country of 200% over the past several years. He lost track of the people that he let in. Worse, he saw international students living in homeless shelters or with 14 roommates in a basement, all while he ignored his department's advice on it was too much and too fast. Watching the impact of these failed policies on housing, the Prime Minister said, "That's my guy for housing." Why did the Prime Minister promote this guy instead of firing him?
There you go. Melissa's good, man. Melissa is really good.
The opposition would like to distract from the issues that actually matter most to Canadians. They focus these days on caucus unity. I would actually point out she sits just a few seats down from a colleague who just a few years ago she criticized for casting aspersions on the LGBTQ2+ community. When it comes to the work that we're actually doing to get the homes built, we are doing everything we can to build more affordable housing. When their leader was actually in the position of housing minister, he got six affordable housing units built across the entire country. We're going to focus on what matters to Canadians, not the distractions that they try to put on the floor.
Look at Randy bobbing his head.
Member from Thornhill.
195,000 was the number, and that's a number that minister would only dream of building because some people fail upwards. Even Canada's current immigration minister said, quote, "It's
That's
really
a good line.
out of control." He was talking about the same immigration system controlled by the new housing guy who lost track of the people who he let in and is now laughably in charge of fueling the housing crisis that the Prime Minister created. The Prime Minister can't possibly fix housing or immigration or anything else because he's fighting his own caucus. So if the Prime Minister won't fire this guy, will he resign in disgrace?
Wow, man. Put some W's down for Melissa, huh?
Mr. Speaker, my feelings. Look, they're going to be disappointed to know that I spend no time or energy thinking about the insults they hurl at me. What concerns me is the insults that they hurl at Canadians. But I do have news for the Honourable Member because she stated a fact that needs to be dispelled. 6 is the number of affordable housing units that the government helped build. They're trying to take credit for the number of homes that Canadians built. But Mr. Speaker, here's the kicker, and I've got news. That number, if we accept it as the right metric, is the worst record of any housing minister in the last 10 years. If they want a prize for their leader's efforts, it's the prize for biggest loser.
Probably will get in trouble for that.
The Honourable Member.
Oh, I guess not. I guess not.
Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of these NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up,
time is up. The former Minister of Immigration and MP for Central Nova was responsible for population growth of 200% in the past several years. Worse, he saw international students living in homeless shelters and in cramped quarters while ignoring departmental warnings that immigration levels were rising too fast. Now, watching the impact of these failed policies on housing, the Prime Minister sat back and proudly said, "That's my guy, that's my housing minister." Why did the Prime Minister promote this minister? Instead of simply firing him, are the two of them waiting to get a pink slip from the Liberal caucus?
The Honourable Minister for Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, they want to talk about immigration as failure. I'm surprised that they would call it a failure, that we provided refuge to hundreds of thousands of vulnerable Ukrainians who fled a war of aggression. I'm surprised that they think it's a failure to have made good on our commitment to welcome 40,000 Afghan refugees, including those who actually fought alongside the Canadian forces. Now, I shouldn't be surprised, Mr. Speaker, because they have opposed our support for Ukraine at every step of the way. They campaigned on a commitment to welcome precisely 0 Afghan refugees. Immigration in this country, Mr. Speaker, is not a failure, it is a strength.
I'm going to encourage all members, please, not to speak out of turn when they are not recognized by the chair. The honourable member from Port Moody, Coquitlam.
10 million Canadians won't have a family doctor by the end of the decade. With an aging population, this is unacceptable. The Liberals have been dragging their feet for years on health care, while the Conservatives' answer is to make people pay for that care. Despite the Liberals' announcements, the pan-Canadian licensure for doctors is still not a reality, which would get more people connected with a doctor. Why are the Liberals dragging their feet on this simple health solution?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would say to the honourable member that was an absolutely critical point of conversation at the last health ministers meeting, where we've committed to doing that. In fact, you take a look at what was done in the Atlantic provinces. We're moving forward with exactly that. And the agreements that we've signed with every province, every territory, $200 billion. Just today, we got baseline data.
Why is he always in a bow tie?
Wait times, and on making sure that the number of surgeries are provided, that we're back ahead of where we were prior to the pandemic. That on doctors and nurses, there are more doctors and nurses in virtually every province and every territory. We're making important progress.
The honourable member from Victoria.
While Canadians are worried about massive flooding and wildfires, Conservatives are rubbing elbows with the same CEOs who are fueling the climate crisis. The Conservative leader spent a night schmoozing with these executives at his $1,600 a plate fundraiser. He's not listening to hardworking Canadians. But the Liberals are no better. They met with oil and gas lobbyists 5 times a day. Shameful. Canadians should come first, not CEOs. So why are the Liberals ripping a page from the Conservative playbook and putting CEOs ahead of people?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as opposed to the Conservative leader, I can assure the member opposite that no oil lobbyists have organized fundraisers for me. But I would like to quote her colleague from her own party, Madam Speaker, the member for Rosemont-La Petite Patrie, who said, as a New Democrat, as a progressive, as an environmentalist, we're in favor of putting a price on pollution, Mr. Speaker. Well, it would look like that under pressure from the Conservative, the NDP are no longer conservative, no longer progressive, no longer environmentalist, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Scarborough Centre.
Mr. Speaker, today is a big day. The Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship just tabled the immigration levels plan for 2025-2027. This is a comprehensive plan that will align the number of newcomers to the supports available in the country, as immigration is essential to Canada from an economic, social and cultural perspective.
Yes, targeted immigration though, not
is vital. Could the Minister
willy-nilly letting in as many people as we possibly can.
On our government's efforts towards ensuring a sustainable immigration system where everyone has a fair chance to succeed.
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to personally thank the member for her contribution on this matter. She knows well, as on this side of the House, how important immigration is to this country, its past and its future. We need a manageable system that is controllable. This is what we are doing today with the levels plan. The reductions that we have proposed alleviate the impacts on infrastructure and housing. It's something that Canadians can be immensely proud of, and we should be very proud of the immigrants that continue to build this country and make it better than what it is today.
Yeah. The honourable member from Kildonan St. Paul.
After 9 years of NDP Liberals, violent crime is up and police have had enough, Mr. Speaker. Frontline officers in Toronto, York, Vancouver, Surrey are all slamming the Prime Minister for his self-congratulatory social media campaign where he promoted his failed handgun policy that has done nothing to stop violent gun crime, which is up, in fact, by 116% since the Liberals took power 9 years ago. When is the Prime Minister going to stop patting himself on the back for his failures and start listening to police?
There.
The Honourable Minister.
I'm so glad she's back.
Mr. Speaker, one important difference between our government and the Conservative Party is we don't believe assault-style military firearms.
You can't buy them as Canadians. Nice try.
We have made those firearms, Mr. Speaker, illegal.
No, there was never an ability to buy assault-style weapons in Canada.
Purchase these rifles, particularly so we can remove them from the streets. That's something that police officers in my conversations have been very supportive of, and they're very worried, Mr. Speaker, that the Conservative Party have plans to, in fact, evacuate all those important measures. That's not in the interest of public safety.
That's right.
The honourable member.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to let the police association speak for themselves to that Liberal minister and to this Liberal Prime Minister. From Surrey, BC, quote, the federal handgun freeze fails to address the real issue, which is the surge of illegal firearms coming across our border, ending up in the hands of violent criminals. From Vancouver, BC, quote, stopping legal sales won't stop criminals from getting guns illegally. You're only restricting law-abiding citizens while doing little to address actual gun violence. When is the Prime Minister going to stop working against police, stop going after law-abiding citizens, and start going after the real problem, criminals?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I was surprised that our colleague raised the issue of border security. Our government, unlike the Conservative government previously, has invested precisely so the Canadian Border Services Agency would be able to interdict these illegal firearms crossing our borders. Mr. Speaker, we work with the RCMP, their policing partners, and Border Services. The Conservatives cut the funding to these agencies, laid off hundreds of Border Services agents, and had in fact plans to cut another 800. The good news, Mr. Speaker, is they lost the 2015 election. We reinvested in those important priorities for Canadians and will continue to do so.
The honourable member from Durham.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of NDP Liberals, crime is up because the Prime Minister's policies are failing. The Toronto Police Association says that violent crime is up 78% since these Liberals came into power. Shootings are up 45% since last year. Gun-related homicides up 62% since last year. So when will the Prime Minister start listening to police associations across Canada and admit he's adding to the crime wave, not fighting it?
That's right. Good question. The Honourable Minister of Justice and Procurator General.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that member's contributions to the House. I just don't appreciate the hypocrisy. What I would say is that assault-style rifles aren't used for hunting deers. That's why we're taking them out of circulation. What I would also say with respect to guns and...
You can't buy assault-style weapons in Canada.
...in our society, then you need to regulate the border. That's why we've invested over $390 million into the CBSA. Exact money amounts that were cut.
And over $69 million
Yes, I can't fault
to buy guns back, which you haven't done a single one.
We're not doing anything to keep our borders safe and to keep guns out of our country.
The honourable member from Durham.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Minister of Justice continues to reveal just how out of touch this government is. And we have real-time evidence of it. Just less than 3 hours ago, there was a shooting in Toronto near Shepherd and Yonge, not far actually from the Minister of Justice's riding. And in that situation, a person is now lying in the hospital in life-threatening condition. So when will this government actually take responsibility for the crime that it's causing and listen to the police?
That's right. Good question. The Honourable Minister for Justice and Attorney General.
I can assure that member that I listen to the police all of the time. And you know what they tell me? They tell me that when you take guns out of circulation, what you do is you help on things like gender-based violence and domestic violence that occurs because women are getting killed because guns are in the homes. When you pass a bill like C-21, you disable that from happening because you ensure that you're keeping women in this country safe. That is a priority, or should be a priority, for this entire Parliament. It's just really shocking that that member doesn't get it.
They're friggin' liars, man. They're lying.
Okay,
all right. The honourable member for Drummond.
That was weird.
Yesterday, in response to a question posed by the leader of the Bloc Québécois, the Prime Minister stated that what happened at Bedford School was just a matter of teachers' freedom of expression. I'm sorry, but imposing religious values in your classroom is not a matter of freedom of expression. This is exactly why we need secularism, which allows everybody to believe or not believe whatever they want. They only have to consult their own conscience freely. Do these liberals realize that they are attacking Quebecers' freedom of conscience? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a great deal of respect for my colleague, but what he just said is revolting. The Prime Minister never said that. On several occasions, the Prime Minister has said that it is unacceptable that children in Quebec be treated in this manner. And he also said that it is up to the government of Quebec to take care of this issue. The Honourable Member for Drummond. We tried to talk to this Prime Minister about religious intolerance, and he has nothing more to say than that liberals will always defend freedom of expression. Well, first of all, let me just say that religion is not necessarily a shining example of freedom of expression. But when there's an adult forcing their religious convictions on their classroom, that is not a matter of freedom. Religion belongs in the private sphere. We need to protect the separation of church and state. And yet the liberals...
What about gender ideology?
The courts. Will this liberal government finally commit to not challenging Bill 21, directly or indirectly? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Once again, I am very disappointed by the doubtful arguments made by my colleague. First of all, I want to remind everyone, including those listening at home, is that respecting children's safety and dignity is everyone's responsibility. But when it comes to education jurisdiction, that's up to the government of Quebec.
The honourable member from Kelowna Lake Country.
After 9 years of these NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, and time is up. And violent gun crime is up 116% in Canada in just 9 years. Now, following the Prime Minister's out-of-touch comments, the Vancouver Police Association stated the Prime Minister is, quote, not aware of the ongoing gang war here in BC, which is putting both our members and public at risk on a daily basis. Right. Will the NDP Liberals listen to police and finally admit that their soft on crime policies are leading to the crime wave in Canada? Right.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, one thing that's definitely up are slogans in this House of Commons. Mr. Speaker, we have said clearly that we will support law enforcement both at the RCMP and in terms of their partners in policing, including police in British Columbia, municipal police in British Columbia. That's why we renewed the Guns and Gangs program, Mr. Speaker, that precisely puts money in the hands of these brave women and men who serve in municipal and provincial police forces so they can do the exact work that my colleague pretends she wants them to be able to do.
That's right.
The honourable member from Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's the police themselves that are saying that the policies of this Liberal government are a failure. And are listening to police who know the facts about gun violence, public safety, and the real impact in our communities. Now, following the Prime Minister's out-of-touch comments, the Surrey Police Union stated, quote, the federal handgun freeze fails to address the real issue, the surge of illegal firearms coming across our borders and ending up in the hands of violent criminals, unquote. 85% of seized firearms are traced back to the United States. So why doesn't the Prime Minister listen to our law enforcement by starting to crack down on smuggled guns from the U.S.?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our government did precisely that. It listened to law enforcement professionals who asked us to reverse the cuts of the previous Harper government to the
Oh
women
my
and men
God.
who
Harper.
do that excellent work at border crossings across the country. We also invested, Mr. Speaker, in the RCMP, who have responsibility between border crossings and who work with American partners on organized crime. We're doing the very work that our colleague on the other side pretends that she thinks is important. Why doesn't she support our government in removing assault-style firearms off the streets?
There's none.
That's right.
There's none. You're not allowed to lie like that.
From Toronto, St. Paul's.
After 9 years of NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, time is up. The Prime Minister wants to pat himself on the back, but the data and the Toronto Police Association say he's out of touch. Last year in Toronto, we saw a 45% increase in shootings and a 62% increase in gun-related homicides. In St. Paul's, 2 people were murdered in Oakwood. A police officer was shot in Yonge and Eglinton, and armed home invasions happen every day. The Liberals make life easy for career criminals with their catch and release bail policies. When will this government finally come up with a plan to stop the crime and bring home safe streets?
Yep.
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, if that member expects us to apologize for taking assault-style weapons off of the streets, he's not going to get that. If that member
You haven't done it. That doesn't even exist, dumbass.
for keeping women safe from domestic violence by implementing a handgun freeze, he's not going to get that apology. If that member thinks
Handguns aren't assault-style weapons.
impacts of suicides that are related to guns being in the homes, he's not going to get that apology. What he should do is actually think about what the police are asking for. They're asking for help with keeping Canadians safe. That's what we do every day on this side of the house.
Wow. Like literally just blatant lies.
Lac Saint-Louis.
The leader of the Conservatives has continued his party's tradition of inaction and negligence by refusing to get a security clearance. He chooses to play political games instead of working for Canadians to combat foreign interference. That's not common sense, Mr. Speaker. That's nonsense. Can the Minister of Justice and Attorney General tell Canadians how our government has taken historic action on foreign interference?
The Honourable Minister. Oh, one moment, please. The Honourable Minister for Justice and Attorney General.
I thank the member from Lac St. Louis for that important question. The Conservative leader continues to ignore national security. Instead of protecting Canadians, he prioritizes his partisan interests. This is not serious leadership, Mr. Speaker. I'll explain it in 3-word slogans just so that the Conservative leader gets it. It's time to get the clearance, take the briefing, protect the country. It's that simple.
What a loser. What a liar.
Order, please. À l'ordre. The Honourable Member from Brantford-Brant.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of NDP Liberals, taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, time is up, and now corruption is up. GC Strategies, a 2-person company working from their basement, started scooping up government contracts like candy just weeks after the Prime Minister took office. $20 million for doing nothing on the failed Arrive scam, $100 million in total in government contracts. If that doesn't scream corruption, I don't know what does. Will the Liberals get our money back?
Here, here.
The Honourable Minister for Public Services and for Public Services.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Vous auriez pu le dire aussi en français, parce que c'est en français.
Because this is something that my colleague has already heard several times in English. It's very good that the Auditor General and the RCMP are independent, and that both of these organizations are doing the work that they are supposed to do, and we will support them in that.
The Honourable Member from Brantford-Brant.
Mr. Speaker, the question is in English, but I digress. Liberal corruption is on rinse and repeat.
He's going to get in trouble for that.
Investigating $100 million.
You can answer in Canada, you can answer any question at any time in French or English.
No idea.
Yeah.
Order. Colleagues.
He's not muting the mic, though. He's not muting the mic.
Order, please.
He's not muting the mic.
Colleagues,
he's not muted the mic.
it's very important for us.
Let's go.
I'm going to ask the honourable member to start his question again from the top, but I'll ask the member, please.
Make sure you sign the petition so he continues to not mute the mic.
I'm going to ask...
Linked in the pinned comment of the live stream chat.
Order, please.
In the comments and the top of the description of the video.
I'm going to ask the honourable member to start again. But
we did it.
Very important fact. It's a basic fact here that questions can be asked in English or in French, and questions can be answered in English or in French.
Yeah. Questions can always be answered in English or French. I don't agree with that, but this is Canada, and English and French are both our national languages.
Corruption is on rinse and repeat. The Auditor General is investigating $100 million in contracts awarded to GC Strategies, a two-person IT company that did no IT work on the failed Arise scam app. The RCMP has already raided the home of GC Strategies founder Christian Firth as part of an ongoing criminal investigation. Will the Liberals cut the corruption and again get the taxpayer its money back?
L'honorable ministre des Services publics et de l'approvisionnement.
Mr. Speaker, what you just heard is an insult to all Francophone members in this House, including Conservative members.
Oh, tabarouette, Soudanese! Jean-Yves Duclos, Soudanese!
French in this House?
Soudanese nuts!
Alors, s'il vous plaît.
He's not muting the mic, though.
Order!
Cooper's freaking barking. Can you say that in French?
From Alfred Pellant.
Oh, he's not muting the mic!
Order!
He's not muting it, though! Look at him!
L'honorable député.
Oh, that's tough for him.
Yeah.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lobinière. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, that is difficult for him to know that a dude that sometimes does and sometimes doesn't wear his pants while live streaming in his own basement just took away his mute
$20 million contract for the of ArriveCan to the company GC Strategies.
Slowly changing Canadian politics, folks.
That's a pretty darn high hourly rate. At a time when 2 million Canadians are lining up at food banks. Meanwhile, how many Liberal buddies have filled their pockets at the expense of Canadian families?
Le ministre des Services publics et de l'approvisionnement.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to congratulate my colleague for asking his question in French, but he could have asked the question in English, because in this House, we are free to speak whichever official language we wish. And I'd like to invite his previous colleague to apologize for having asked me to answer his question in English.
I mean, yeah, you're definitely able to answer in French. That's fine.
À l'ordre, s'il vous plaît.
He wants to mute it, eh? Of all days of fighting over official languages. Look at him. Just know, Greg Fergus, that petition was written while I wasn't wearing pants.
L'honorable député, the honourable member from Halifax West.
Oh my God, what a world we live in.
It's detrimental to our national security and to the safety of Canadians. We now know that agents of the government of India have targeted Sikh and South Asian.
I'm crying out of joy.
National security experts, including 2 former directors of CSIS, have emphasized how important it is for all party leaders to get the security clearance to view and act on intelligence. Can the government House leader explain how crucial it is for party leaders to get the clearance to protect Canada's democratic institutions?
The honourable member from Niagara Falls, I'm going to ask him, please, to not take the floor unless he is being recognized by the Speaker. The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague from Halifax West for that important question. It's a question that's on the mind of many Canadians, is why won't the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada get his security clearance, Mr. Speaker? It's interesting to note that his Conservative members of Parliament would rather put our national security, our allies, our intelligence, allyships, and quite frankly the lives of Canadians at risk, rather than have their leader get his security clearance. The question is why? What is he hiding and what is he trying to protect? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker,
oh my God, this is funny.
Destaffing 2 lighthouses along the coast of Vancouver Island without consultation. This jeopardizes emergency response, search and rescue, navigation, and more. Instead of supporting lightkeepers and the safety of our communities, the Liberals are choosing automated navigation systems. These cannot replace skilled people and sure don't hear.
I think I might have to have a beer later tonight, folks.
It's dangerous. Will the Liberals halt this decision immediately and stop putting our coasts at risk?
L'honorable ministre des Pêches et Océans et la...
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are aware of the cultural and historic importance of these lighthouses. After a technical assessment carried out by the Coast Guard, it was determined that these lighthouses are no longer safe for staff. The safety and well-being of Coast Guard staff are our main priority. And I would like to reassure my colleague that navigational aids are functional to enable us to continue protecting sailors and coastal communities.
The honourable member from Spadina, Fort York.
Mr. Speaker, to the Minister of Immigration who intervened to stop a deportation order issued by his own department upheld by a federal court to protect a 5-time criminally convicted foreign national, is it his latest scheme to protect the IRGC by allowing them to falsely claim the refugees? Global News reported that refugee privacy is being exploited to hide behind closed-door proceedings. Why is his government continuing to make a mockery of Canada's legal and immigration systems? Mr. Speaker, is he the Minister of IRCC or the Minister for the IRGC?
Oh, wow! Oh, House Speaker ain't happy. What are you going to do, mute the microphone?
Colleagues,
mute it, I tell you.
On at least 3.
Mute the microphone. I'll take my pants off and I'll do another petition.
The chair has made rulings regarding associating members with odious regimes. This has gone on all sides of the House, and now with an independent member. I'm going to ask the honourable member from Fort York, Spadina, Fort York, to withdraw that part, those words of that last part of that question. The honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw.
Thank you, honourable member. The honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our colleague raised GC. Our government has been very clear. The Iranian government is a state sponsor of terrorism. We have said that consistently. And Mr. Speaker, our government took the unprecedented step to list the IRGC as a terrorist entity under the Criminal Code of Canada. Mr. Speaker, our colleague understands very well that nobody in this House is going to discuss specific immigration cases, but he should have been happy that we listed that odious organization as a terrorist regime in Canada.
That's right.
The honourable member from Battle River Crowfoot is rising on a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In the 2024 annual report to Parliament on immigration that was tabled earlier this day, we need to. I'm not asking for unanimous consent. However, I am asking for clarification from the chair, because in the information that was tabled, the printed version does not have Annex 4. However, there was a last-minute photocopy that was that seems to be inserted. So, to you, Mr. Speaker, I am wanting to clarify which version of the report that the minister tabled earlier today was actually tabled, and whether or not the one that was tabled does have this last-minute photocopy with the numbers in it.
He muted the mic. I'm conflicted here because they're talking about important stuff, and it's not a debate. So before we get our panties in a twist here.
Before I entertain a point of order, I thank the honourable member for raising this issue. The chair will take that information and come back to the House. The honourable minister's right.
Is that acceptable? Is that not acceptable?
I think it's really important to note that we saw a lack of respect, a clear lack of respect at this House of Commons to an audience.
Yeah, they can mute with that. During the debates, though, not muting. Randy speaking French. We found the other Randy. We found the French Randy. Frandy. Let's get some Frandies down in the chat.
Colleagues, the chair, I'll thank the honourable member. If he would like to assume the chair, he's more than welcome. Colleagues, the chair has already made a statement on this matter during question period. I see that the honourable member from Brantford Brant would like to rise in this place. The honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a point of order, in relation to the introduction of my second question, I made a reference to the question was originally in English. I was unable to hear the minister's response because of commotion in the House. My volume wasn't working correctly on my headpiece. That's why I made the reference. Clearly, I recognize, Mr. Speaker, that every member in this House is entitled to respond and ask questions in both official languages.
Freaking Brock, man. Got him.
I thank the honourable member for reiterating the last point. I think, colleagues, I think this
is where he should mute the mic.
Brantford Brant raises a very interesting point, which is that when people are taking the floor, when they're not. I say this to the conversation which is happening right now.
He wants to mute it again.
Member from Lakelands. You cannot hear what is going on if there is too much ambient noise caused by people speaking out of turn. And this is a very important point. C'est un point.
It's a point that I have raised on several occasions, especially for those who are listening to the debate here in the chamber, in the other official language, through the interpretation services. It's so important for no one to speak out of turn so everyone can hear and understand what's happening here in the chamber. Point of order, the honourable member for Louisvert. Mr. Speaker, the member for Brantford Brant is clearly trying to step away from what he said. We all understood what he was trying to do, and he tried to suggest that the member should not answer in French, and now he should apologize. It's inaudible.
It's inaudible? Oh. Nah.
The chair has heard enough points on this matter, and we are moving on.
Silence the Liberals at their own game.
318, the House will now move to the deferred record division on the motion to concur in the 12th report of the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage.
Oh my goodness, man. I'm getting the friggin' lung workout of the century. Holy smokes, I'm out of breath just from laughing so hard. Guys, I think we did it. I mean, the more signatures, the better. Don't get me wrong here. For those that haven't yet already, there's a link in the pinned comment of this live stream. It'll bring you to this website right here. Or if you don't want to click on the link, just type into your browser, either on your phone or on your computer, stopmutingthemic.ca. It'll bring you to this website. I made a website specifically for a petition. That's it. And then it'll bring you to this petition right here. So we started the stream off with, I forget how many signatures, maybe there's like 2,200 or something like that, and there's 3,100. So over 1,000 people, or just about 1,000 people, have signed the petition in the past 45 minutes to an hour. Like, that's incredible, folks. We need more. We need more. Everything on this website is already laid out for you. You can even copy and paste if you would like and make amendments to your local MP, right? Send them an email. It's already written. Like, it's there. You just have to get the email for your MP. And there's a chart here that shows you where your MPs are, right? So, like, it's all been done. See, like, all of the MPs are right there. So you just got to find your riding, zoom in, and grab your local MP's email. It's already there, folks, guys. But we're definitely moving in the right direction. Like, the progress that we've made already just from the past 24 hours. Like, he muted the mic yesterday during debate. He didn't mute the mic today. I've got the timestamps. I'm going to put them in a video where he was just like, he was holding on to it, right? He's like, but he can't because the petition is too powerful. And he's seen it. I have actual confirmation. I received confirmation on this device right here as question period resumed that indeed Greg Fergus 100% saw that petition. This isn't a petition about any other MP other than the House Speaker himself, Greg Fergus, and it has over 3,000 signatures in less than 24 hours. We are doing good. This is only the beginning. So all that momentum of, hey, we need to get more signatures, let's not let that die out, all right? We need to keep that going. We need to share it to Facebook groups, pass it along to friends. I know it's annoying. And for the next, this is now, a petition is active for the next 59 days. It's a 60-day petition from start to end. So you're going to hear me for the next 59 days. It's all been fun and games the past 24 hours, and this stream was awesome. But this momentum has got to keep going because there's people in here that have just heard me say it and they just move on. Yeah, whatever, petition. But I'm gonna wait till those. They think I'm annoying now? Wait till I win you over and you actually sign that petition. Oh boy, man. So it's gonna be annoying. It's gonna be repetitive. But just stick with me because this has the potential to actually change Canadian politics. We just saw for the first time in a debate, Greg Fergus. There was house eruption, chaos on the floor, and Greg Fergus did not mute the microphone. He couldn't. I want to push the button, but he couldn't. He couldn't do it because he knows the petition is just going to add more fuel to the fire, and he wants to obviously not have that happen. But it's too late. There's already 3,000 people. So at some point, it will get read in the House. It will get read in the House. But for now, we need to keep getting those numbers. Let's worry about when it gets read. Let's worry about that later on. Let's just keep getting those numbers. Let's see if we can get to 4,000 by tomorrow or something like that. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a phenomenal stream. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun too. Let's pull up. Let's pull up the House again. Oh, they're doing a vote. Concurrence in committee reports, Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage. I'll just play this in the background while I read off some of the super chats, yeah? Hope that works for everyone.
Mrs. Gallant. Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Shipley.
Mr. Muse.
Mr. Muse.
Mr. Van Popta.
Mr. Van Popta.
Mr. Steinley.
Mr. Steinley.
For those that want to share it on Instagram and Facebook, tell them to just share the link, stopmutingthemic.ca.
Mr. Epp.
Mr. Epp.
Mr. Dreeshen.
Mr. Dreeshen.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Tolmie.
Mr. Tolmie.
Mr. Dalton. Mr. Nader.
Funis with the 5 saying Parliament is such a clown show that the Indian media is streaming this to show Indians just what a joke it is. No doubt.
Mr. Shields.
Mr. Mott.
Jordan with the 2, liberal logic equals deflection.
Mr. Soroka.
Yes.
Mr. Soroka.
Mr. Dowdle.
Mr. Dowdle.
Mr.
Samantha with the 5.
Pearson.
Will you be getting those freedom hats and shirts back in stock? The ones that look like the word is on top of itself. and W's for us guys and Jasper W. And that's your first ever super chat on the live stream.
Madame Normandin.
Mr. Garon.
Monsieur Garon.
Yeah, I definitely could. Things get cycled, right? They're on rotations, so I could definitely bring that back.
Madame Larouche.
Madame Larouche.
Monsieur Barcelou Duval.
Deborah with the 279.
Savard Tremblay.
Saying signed.
Monsieur Beaulieu.
Thank you, Deborah.
Monsieur Lemire.
Predictable Jesse with the 5.
Madame Chabot.
Who's going to save the refugees of Canada when we're the next third world country? Yes.
Madame Bérubé.
Monsieur Desilets.
Where do we go? Where do we go seek refuge?
Julian.
Ms. McPherson.
The CCFR appeal to be heard in December, says Andre with a $2 super chat.
Ms. Dance.
Ms. Blaney.
That's good.
Madame Hughes.
I think I've talked to one of the CCFR guys.
Mr. Desjardins.
Mr. Desjardins.
Back to Ms. Barron.
Ms. Barron.
Ms. Zerillo.
Ms. Zerillo.
Programmer with the 5 saying liberals, we invested in CBSA and ISIS still came in. Yeah, that's crazy.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
La Chambre attendra maintenant la fin.
The House will now wait for the electronic voting period to end before resuming its proceedings.
The fact that what's happening to Trump right now isn't happening to Trudeau proves there are no firearms issues in Canada. It's all illegal gun owners, right? Like criminals that are abusing the system in Canada. It's not law-abiding firearm owners. You can't buy a military assault style weapon in Canada. It's not available for purchase in Canada. You can illegally obtain it if you're a criminal and know how. I don't, nor am I interested in knowing. Andre with the 2 saying schools and TO are doing mosque field trips, by the way. Oh. Interesting. That's interesting, eh? The poor man's poet, the 10 US. Holy smokes, man. That's like a bajillion Canadian. Our dollar's not even a thing anymore. Bro, I think he did read your petition. Y'all think I'm lying? Just saying that for the sake of saying it? Folks, I have confirmation that he read it. Thank you for that, though. Lost Labradorian with the new membership. Thank you. The Cryptic Stench with the 279. Pants for Jasper. Look, guys, I say some stuff, all right? Sometimes my mouth speaks before my brain understands what it is I'm saying. It's a problem. It's not just a problem with YouTube videos. It's a problem in real life. I speak my mind way too often, and I oftentimes don't think before I speak. I let my intrusive thoughts get the better of me. Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's like, whoa, what did you just say? So, yeah, I appreciate that, though. Y'all think I'm joking. I do actually sit here in my boxers alone sometimes. That is the truth. Ernest, wait, with the 5. Guns aren't the problem, politicians. We deserve self-defense laws and open carry. Grandpa's packing means less crime. Also, like and subscribe. Thanks, Ernest. I don't understand. Guys, you can just say like and subscribe in the chat. You don't have to pay for a super chat to say that. But thank you. You guys are something else. That's funny. Kyle with the 699. No pants Jasper changing politics. Hashtag pants for Jasper. Hashtag make pants great again. Oh, what have I done? What have I done? Y'all don't know the half of it, all right? When I lived in my van, I had those magnetic mounts for my phone. So I'd put them like above my kitchen, on my walls, everywhere. I had one in the shower. So when I would shower in my van, because it's how often does anyone think of like an actual shower with warm hot water on demand running in a van, like a full size up shower. So I would show from my waist up in the shower, and it was called shower. It would just be like a clip, right? Like a second or two. But yeah. So don't be surprised that I've said on stream that I don't wear pants and I just sit here in my boxers, because I've shown myself in the shower. Yeah, many times. It was part of my vlogs because I used to live in a van and I would vlog. I'd be in a parking lot of Walmart. I'd be by the ocean. I'd be down by the river. It's happened many, many times. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Kyle with the $5 saying, cheers, brother. Have one for me today. I'll have 10 for you tomorrow. Thanks, Kyle. That's right. I'm having a beer later today. I appreciate that. And Brian with the 10, no message attached. Am I in my boxers? I sometimes like the mystery of things. You know what I'm saying? I sometimes like the mystery of things. But no, I'm not. I mean, I'm wearing boxers, but I'm wearing jeans. I've got jeans on. All right, folks, that's where we're going to end the stream here. This was a lot of fun, a lot of support. Don't forget to go over to stopmutingthemic.ca. Stopmutingthemic.ca. And let's get that petition going even further. Right? Let's see if we can hit 4,000 by tomorrow. Peace and love, everybody. I'll see you guys, what day is it? Thursday? Oh, man. Is it already Thursday? Really? I normally don't stream on Fridays, but I'm having so much fun. What are we today? We're October 24th. Yeah, so they are sitting next week. I might stream tomorrow. That's a bummer. We'll see. Stay tuned. Turn post notifications on. I'll let you guys know. But normally Fridays I spend time with like my family and stuff in the mornings, right? Well, instead of streaming. But we'll see. Thanks for all the support, guys. Thanks for signing the petition. Thanks for sharing the petition. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Thanks for giving super chats to say like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Bree B with the 279 to end the stream here. Just wanted to say, hey, thank you. Thanks for that. All right, folks. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow. But for surezies on Monday for another question period stream. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. And if I don't see you tomorrow, have a